Hi everybody, it's good to be here. My name's Chris and I'm from Zebedee. Zebedee is a Lightning gaming company. We primarily develop API and SDK and tools for game developers to integrate Lightning into their games. However, due to the recent events of COVID, we've actually started a collaborative effort between ourselves, Lightning Lab, Jack from Thndr Games, and a bunch of other cool Lightning startups, which is an online esports event. Because people are no longer able to travel and attend the front conferences that were planned this year, they'll be able to join an online event in VR or at home from the browser and play some Lightning games and watch some cool Lightning talks and really interact virtually distributed across the world through the power of Lightning. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about Macaques and what we're doing with one of our sample games called Reiki. So Reiki primarily was developed as a two-player street fighting games where people at conferences could get together and they could battle each other. And as they fought each other in the game as player 1 punch player 2, there would be streaming stats between them. However, due to the recent online nature of the world, we've extended Reiki to have an online mode where two people can play remotely in an online esports battle, and a live audience who is watching this battle from the comfort of their own home can interact with the game by sending satoshis to the game and kind of drop a bomb or add a power up or give health to a player. And also the game is able to send satoshis back to the player. So we're kind of showing this through the power of Lightning and gaming. We can actually add a new layer to gaming. So I'm just going to jump into an stream and I'm going to stop talking. I'm just going to show you Reiki in action, and then I'll go on and show you how we're actually using it in the Macaques events. There we go. Yes, this is the game Reiki. So Reiki is actually Japanese for, well, it's kind of pseudo-Japanese, but it basically means lightning demon. Rai is kind of lightning and thunder. Ki is a demon. And so at Zebedee, we are mainly an API and SDK company. Our goal is to kind of make the tools to make it easy for game developers to add Lightning to their games. However, we're kind of making some fun sample games just to kind of get the ball rolling and show people what you can do. So Reiki is one of them. It's like a Street Fighter style game. It's going to have a story mode, which I'll show I'll talk a little bit more about that later and show some of the story that we have in the works. And the idea is being that people could play the story mode, and we could have some sponsors that if you play the story mode, we might have some product placement in some of the levels, or just some sponsors showing, kind of ads. But the point of the sponsors is they will be able to supply satoshis, so if you defeat the bosses or defeat the characters, you can actually earn some satoshis through the game. So it's kind of a fun way to onboard people, get them playing around with Lightning. But the story mode is still in development. What I am going to show is the versus mode. So at the beginning, I'm just going to show the normal versus mode, and then afterwards I'm going to show how we use the versus mode with online to enable an online esports event at Macaques, where two competitors could fight remotely, and the audience could kind of stream satoshis into the game and basically give the users, well, disrupt the users as they fight. It'll be a bit more clear later, but I'm just going to jump in and show the versus mode now. Let's just go to CPU versus CPU. So we've got a bunch of characters in development. The main character here, he might change it a little bit, but this is the current working prototype. His name is Rai, and he's the main protagonist. A few more of the story characters. We have Momo, who's kind of like a scrappy little kind of girl. It's quite similar if you've ever seen something like Shrek or something. You have Shrek and Donkey. It's a similar relationship. We have Rai as a kind of stoic fighter type character. Momo is a kind of scrappy girl who follows him around. We also have the wise old man who helps train Reiki in some sort of montage so he can defeat the boss. We have the bad guy who's a demon samurai. We've got the bear market, which is one of Reiki's biggest challenges. And then we've also got a bunch of fun characters we were actually developing for conferences. So for example, we had a kind of Blockstream spy. We were planning to do some fun fights at conferences with somebody from Blockstream, but we'll probably do that a bit later. In February at Advancing Bitcoin, we did a fun event with Nicola Dorier, who was actually fighting Nopara from Wasabi Wallet, and that was quite fun actually. Also got Excellion, aka Samson Mao. it is on the roadmap at some point to create all the magical crypto gang, and maybe at a future MCC conference we can see them battling out and seeing which is the ultimate magical crypto friend. We've got Wong, who is a Hong Kong protester, and we've got Law, who is a Hong Kong riot police. We've got Jack the Rippler. We've basically got a bunch of fun characters planned. Some of the characters will be directly from the story, and some of the characters will be more unlockable fun games based on kind of Bitcoin and blockchain lore. But I'm just going to jump in and show some of the popular characters, which is Wong, the Hong Kong protester, fighting Law. And we actually made a Hong Kong arena.
Round 1.
This is a current gameplay. It's quite simple. You know, if you're familiar with Street Fighter, you have punch and kick and special moves. However, in the two-player mode, what we kind of envision is people at conferences will be able to link their wallets to the game. So we're actually developing a wallet at Zebedee, which will make this easier, but we plan to push it kind of as a standard to kind of Lightning and gaming, so other wallet developers can integrate it. It'll be something inside of LN URL, and if you're familiar with like Lightning Duel or something, have this concept of allowances, it's going to be similar to that. The idea is you'll have a wallet that you'll link with the game, and the game will request permission to the wallet to basically make payments up to a certain amount without having to like authorize or type in your PIN code. So for example, the game might say allow, the wallet might say allow the game to charge up to $1 in the next 60 minutes without having to confirm. And that means you would be able to link it to the game, and then you're just punching, your stats are just streaming from the wallet to the game. You don't have to press anything, you don't have to scan anything, it's really smooth. So that's currently in development. Yeah, I think Wong has won this one. So that's kind of the basic kind of concept of the game, and hopefully once conferences start coming out, we'll start to showcase that and demo it a little bit more. Come on, Wong, you can do it. Actually, no, sorry, I'm wrong. The Law one. Well, there you go. Anyway,
Round 2.
I'm just going to jump out of there. Now, what I really wanted to showcase, which is the more interesting thing, is how we use this game in Mint Gox. So I'm just going to kind of switch over the stream now and showcase the Mint Gox dashboard.
So this is the dashboard that was developed for the Mint Gox event. The idea being that the Mint Gox event wasn't just this game, we had a few different things going on. So if you kind of look at the bottom, there's like a timeline showing the various events. One was Sat Stacker, which was a kind of a Bitcoin enabled kind of coin pusher game. It was a kind of like a faucet, a fun way to get Satoshis. You just go to a web page, you'd play a few rounds of this game and get some Satoshis. The second one was a Saratobi tournament, which is one of my personal games that I developed, which was another fun way to get Bitcoin. The third one was an Agar tournament, which was a game developed by Satoshi's Games, which was a kind of a simple multiplayer. It's hard to explain, but you play as these circles and you have to go around and eat other players who are also circles. If you eat them, your circle gets bigger. It's quite a fun game. And then we had the virtual reality, where we actually hosted kind of a networking and kind of presentations event in VR. So at the event last time, I interviewed Constantine from Donner Labs, but at each monthly event we have kind of an interesting panel where people can like listen to a fireside chat or a panel, and people can ask questions. We do actually have some kind of fun things planned, where at Zebedee we're actually looking into trying to make kind of VR events a bit more interactive. So rather than just putting on the headset and listening to people talk and feeling a little bit sick after a while, the idea is that we can actually have some games with VR and have a more interactive space with some Bitcoin art on the wall, things like this. That's going to come in a future event. And then we also had the Reiki fight and the Light Night demo. Because there's quite a lot going on from the first Mint Gox event, it was a little bit confusing. People didn't really know where to go. So at Zebedee, we developed this dashboard, which is basically, this was at mintgox.com. You go to this website, and for Mint Gox 3, you will go to a similar site. And basically, you can just view this site, and it will basically kind of be your tour guide to the event. So currently we are at number 5, showing the Reiki fights. So this is how it worked on the day and how it will work in future events. So we had 2 players. One of the players, we go to the Reiki tab here, and you would log in with a username. So for example, I'll log in as Satoshi. And then the 2 fighters who were actually fighting, there was a person from Bitstamp who was fighting, and we also had Dr. Watt, who was kind of a Bitcoin gaming champion. He won the Thndr Games competition and did quite well in the Saratobi Games competition. But we basically had a fight between those 2. And as an audience member watching this feed and on this webpage, you would basically choose who you think is going to win. So for example, if you thought Bitstamp was going to win, you choose Bitstamp and press yes. And then you would just wait at this page and wait for the fight to start. But the idea was at the end of the fight, if you chose correctly, the game would send you Satoshis. So it's kind of a fun way that sponsors or game developers can kind of send money out of the game to the players. And let's just show a kind of example of how the online game worked. I'm just going to log in and just host a kind of online game. So bear with me there, folks. There might be a little bit of lag from what I say and what updates on the screen because I'm just streaming this at the moment. Okay. Yeah. Yep, so on this event we had Bitstamp versus Dr. Watt, who runs Hodl Shop, so I'll give him a bit of a plug there. Go visit his Hodl Shop. I think it's hodlshop.com or .io. You have to check that out for yourself. But I think he sells some cool Lightning and Bitcoin merchandise. Anyway, yeah, so we had this event. The players would kind of get online and they'd organize a match and then they start. And then once they start, you'll see this kind of dashboard here will kind of update, and it will allow you to send a message into the game. And the idea was that you could kind of, it's a fun way for the users to interact. You'd basically send a message that would give them support, or maybe not support. And once enough users have sent enough messages, it would charge a bomb. And that bomb would kind of drop in the game, and the players would have to avoid in order to not, get hurt. Be hit. So I'm just going to give an example of that. Well, type a message. You can do it. And the users would just basically pay an invoice with their Lightning wallet. And once they paid the invoice, then the message would appear across the screen. So it should come through shortly. There's a little bit of lag on this stream for some reason. I've got a little bit of lag, a few seconds, but yeah, you can see it there. So on the event, we actually had kind of tens and maybe almost 100, not sure, but we can have plenty of messages coming across. And then once enough messages are dropped, the bomb will, enough messages are sent, the bomb will drop. So let me just write a few more. Let's write some gibberish. Pay the invoice. I've set the bomb to drop a bit quicker this time. Normally it takes about 5 messages. It kind of depends on the audience size. But at the moment it's just me and the audience. So to save myself, I've just set it to 2 or 3 messages before the bomb drops. We send another one. You can do it. Yeah. And of course, these players would be kind of fighting, but obviously I'm kind of talking to you guys, so it's a bit hard to make them control. Just see a bomb drop shortly. There we go. I've got 2 bombs this time. There we go. So yeah, so that was kind of the idea behind it. It's quite simple at the moment, but we have kind of we have things in the works where there's going to be a few more interesting power-ups that can drop. So instead of a bomb dropping, you could drop some health or something if you wanted to help another player win. Or you could drop something like some poison. We had some power-ups that would make the characters' kind of clothes change, like make them wear a funny dress or something like that. We also have kind of ideas for example, that maybe the audience, if they pay enough Satoshis, it could open a trapdoor and the player falls through. So kind of plenty of fun ideas to play around there. And that's kind of just an example of the kind of stuff we're developing and the cool stuff we're doing at Mint Gox. Yeah, so eventually after the match would have finished, any Satoshis that you won, so if you chose correctly, your balance would update in the bottom corner here, and you would press withdraw, and then you could withdraw your winnings. And the winnings come from a mixture of kind of donations by the sponsors, which are like Bitstamp and Bitbank, as you can see at this particular event. But they also come from, as the audience drops Satoshis into the game, the money that they paid into the game through sending messages and charging the bomb. That also adds to kind of the pot at the end. So that would add. So the more people that drop messages, the more sats the people will get after choosing the correct winner.
Cool, so I do hope you will join us for the next Mint Gox event, Mint Gox 3. We'll be announcing that very shortly. If you want to keep up to date with that, just follow us on Twitter. That's @MintGox, @MINTGOX. The game that will be featured at Mint Gox 3 will be Bitcoin Bounty Hunter, which is developed by Donna Labs. Bitcoin Bounty Hunter is a really fun first-person shooter game. Basically, the idea is you can just watch it as an audience member, or you can join in and participate in the game, and you'll be able to run around the map, shoot other players and steal their Bitcoin, or you can collect Bitcoin that has been dropped by sponsors. It's a really cool game, and I hope you can enjoy that with us at Mint Gox 3. I'm just going to end by showing some of the kind of work in progress and unseen Reiki animation. This is actually footage for the kind of the story mode. So it's going to be kind of short animated scripts which explain the narrative in between the boss fights of the story mode. So nobody has seen this yet. It's still a work in progress, but I'll just share that with you now. Just make sure the audio is working. So the basic premise is the character's village was raided when he was a young child by kind of unknown, kind of evil samurai feudal lords. And at this point there would obviously be some kind of text or dialogue added. But it's very much a kind of now in Japanese, it's Sengoku Jidai, which is in Japanese is basically the period of war in Japan where there was, I think, for like hundreds of years, there was like this constant war between reigning feudal lords. So it's kind of set in that era, and the main character's mother and parents have been killed, and this kind of sets up his motivation in the game. The idea with the story mode of the game is I didn't want to do something that's kind of too obviously Bitcoin. I thought that would be a little bit, it'll be fun, but I thought it might be a little bit tacky to be complete kind of Bitcoin. So the kind of the Bitcoin aspect we've kind of left for kind of these fun unlockable characters such as like Blockstream Spy, stuff like that. But the main story will be non-Bitcoin, but it'll have like Bitcoin Easter eggs. So in the next video I'll show one of those Easter eggs, which I think if you're not a Bitcoiner you won't be put off by it because you shouldn't realize it, but if you are a Bitcoiner you'll probably understand why it's there. Let's jump to the next video. So the next video is actually when the character is an adult and he's going through the forest. So the next video, yeah, the character's an adult and he's going through the forest and he gets attacked by the bear market. Here we go. Nope, not that one. This one. So you can see the characters in the forest, and there is the bear market. This is a very kind of low quality render. Yeah, and in the game you fight the bear, but you cannot defeat him. No matter what you do, you'll end up losing, and thus your character is kind of injured, and your character is dragged to the wise old man who you know, kind of heals you up and puts you on a journey and kind of makes you stronger. You fight your inner demons, etc. Blah blah blah, and then you go back and fight the bear market and defeat it. This is meant to be kind of symbolic of him floating down kind of a dark river and facing his inner demons. Anyway, before I get too philosophical, I think I'll end it there. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little showcase of some of the cool stuff you can do and that we are doing with Lightning Gaming. As I said, I'm Chris from Zebedee. If you want to find out more about us, just check us out at zebedee.io. That's ZEBEDEE.io. And if you're a game developer, we'd love to talk to you. We are developing SDKs and APIs. We also have a very easy to use developer dashboard that will let you link with your games and develop games in popular engines such as Unity. And we also have a wallet that will be coming out soon, which will, we hope to be the kind of the smoothest, most frictionless experience for integrating Lightning with gaming, and that's going to be available for users as well as developers. So yeah, well, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
All right, guys, we are live.
All right. Hey, everyone. Happy Halving Day or Halving Day. I'm not sure what like people are saying. I've heard it like both ways. So we are the Macaques team, and we just demoed Zebedee's Reiki, or actually Christian demoed that, which was an awesome job. And so I just wanted to introduce, I guess we can go around and introduce ourselves. I am Dickerson. I'm the VP of Business Ops at Lightning Labs. If you want to intro yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Simon. I'm the CEO of Zebedee.
I'm Chris. I'm the head of game development at Zebedee, also known as Mandelduck on Twitter.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm the founder of Thndr Games.
Awesome. And we have a few other folks who are involved with Macaques as well. I want to give a shout out to Andre, who couldn't join us today, but is definitely here in spirit and in heart. So yeah, I just kind of want to kick it off and give a little bit of background about how this kind of all got started. And guys, feel free to jump in, but you know, I think in some capacity, we were all involved in some of these awesome conferences that were supposed to be happening, or should have already happened, like Bitcoin 2020, Magical Crypto Conference, and it seemed like all of these conferences that were happening were starting to have a gaming component. I know at the Lightning Conference last year, I hosted a panel on Lightning Gaming. So it was kind of unfortunate when all of this, stopped happening because of the coronavirus. But I mean, it wasn't something that like we really wanted to let die, just because we couldn't all meet we couldn't meet in person anymore. So we've kind of moved that virtually, and I got connected with these guys, and I mean, Simon, I feel like this was kind of your brainchild. So you want to take over?
Yeah, I think maybe because first of all, like, the whole Bitcoin community is revolved around all these awesome events like the ones that Bitcoin Magazine put together in Bitcoin 2020. And, we all have these like series of social events that are going to be lined up, on a monthly basis over the year. And that's kind of where we all, rotate and hang out and build things to show off. And when that was all canceled, first of all, like everyone was really depressed. But then I thought, like, hang on, why don't we use this as an opportunity? I mean, like, Bitcoin is supposed to be an online virtual digital currency. Why don't we create like a new type of event that could only happen like online and virtually. So the idea around like so Mint Gox, the original name was Magic Internet Gathering, Magic Internet Money. So like try and get as many people online as possible, just like playing with Lightning applications in a way that we do some of it at conferences, but in a way that you can only really do online. So that was the whole spirit and ethos of it. So we just kind of like I think as a team we kind of brainstormed, came up with the name it like the idea of the event, mentioned it to a few of other folks like Desiree and Jack, and they were like, awesome, we want to be involved. So it's really just a collaborative like community effort of anyone who wants to be involved to like just create something new that can only exist online.
Yeah, it's definitely been a very organic start, I'd say, and it's kind of indicative of Bitcoin Lightning gaming, which is like a grassroots sort of movement, and I think this event is sort of springing up from that kind of
same as Bitcoin itself, right? I mean,
yeah,
the whole of Bitcoin is just organic, community-driven development. So that's what I kind of like about this as well. I mean, so apart from like, I don't know if Desiree mentioned, apart from like there's like Udi from VR Chat's been involved. Bitcoin Magazine has been involved. Who else have we had in there? I'm trying to think. I mean, we've got the other like game developers like Satoshi Games and Donner Labs, but everyone's welcome.
Yeah, I kind of think in a way it was kind of going to happen eventually anyway. Just the kind of worldwide lockdown was kind of the catalyst, which kind of like spurred it on. But we were definitely at Zebedee talking before all this happened about we saw that more and more gaming was done online with people watching Twitch streams and people kind of interacting with the Twitch chat to try and affect the game. So we kind of saw that was a growing industry, but this kind of gave us the opportunity to kind of like, let's go for it and show how it can work.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting to see like how there's been a natural transition to doing these events on. And I mean, I guess in my view, it will never really take the place of like in-person events. But I mean, I think it's been such a cool opportunity, and I think our community has responded a lot quicker than other communities. Since I mean, for me, like at Lightning Labs, we are totally remote, so this hasn't been a huge change, but it was nice to see people like occasionally. So I mean, I'm excited to continue doing these virtual events. I think it's, even once we go back to in-person events, like I hope that the virtual component still, stays strong. So, there's just more connection to be had. But I mean, I wonder what it's going to look like when we go back. Like, I hope the gaming thing, like the whole theme, continues once we go back to real life.
I think we kind of saw it before with like, in the last few events I attended, what we started to see was at the physical events, they would have a kind of virtual component. And that's kind of something that we were looking at as well, that you would actually have, a physical event where people could play the games, but that event was also streamed so people could watch it. And if they weren't there physically at the conference, they could kind of participate virtually as well. So I think going forward, a hybrid solution would work well, especially now that we've kind of invested in some of the kind of online tools to make it smooth. I think we'll definitely see that kind of be a bit more polished once conferences.
The other thing is like some of the games that like you were developing for conferences, like we switched them over to try and work in Mint Gox, and they just don't work quite as well because like some games are designed for in person,
Sure.
and some games are designed for like purely like online. So there is a difference there.
Yeah. So kind of Reiki is a little bit like that, where it's kind of like a two-player game that was originally designed for people playing in person locally, and it's a bit of a challenge to get that working online. But we do have a few other projects which are more designed for the kind of online
or like the special like geolocation game designed for Bitcoin 2020, which obviously you can't play now because it's illegal to go outside.
We kind of we've developed a kind of Lightning Pokemon Go style game, which unfortunately it's not the best time to bring it out, but it'll be brought out eventually. We kind of need to think of them. Well, I guess most games are stay-at-home games, but something that kind of works exceptionally well when you're at home.
Yeah. I think that, like, people need to meet in person for in real life events. But for me, the Mint Gox thing, it's a platform so that to try and spur game application development with Bitcoin, which you're getting conferences that kind of hackathons around it, but it's something that can work much more efficiently online. So I think that's going to continue. I mean, where else could you get a platform so that a game developer could like these guys could like showcase a game and know that there's going to be hundreds of friendly Bitcoin users who are going to try them out. Don't mind if it's a little bit buggy, but happy to earn some sats playing games.
I think the events are a lot more accessible. So kind of one thing that we have to remember is that not every new kind of budding Bitcoin indie game developer can afford a ticket to fly to New York and attend a conference, right?
Yeah.
So I think we kind of saw that before with a lot of online virtual like Lightning Hack Days to try and kind of reach out to people who were not in a position to travel. So I think that's also a strength, for the online event.
You do need to pay, but instead you can get paid out sats. I mean, like, how many sats have you given out, Jack?
Loads and loads. When people don't have to sign up and there's no friction to join competitions, a lot more people are happy to join and take all my money, basically.
I think that's been pretty cool about like the Mint Gox event so far. I mean, being able to host it monthly, just looking at the Lightning Conference, there's so much, financial and human capital required up front to get that up and running. So there wasn't a lot of time for experimentation and, seeing what worked and what, what didn't work. And I think, that's something that's been really cool to explore with the Mint Gox event is, we started off, I think we have a cool format now. There's like an advanced play section for a few hours where you can win Satoshis. Then, we go into a talk and like some sort of like tournament or demo. And, I think, we are kind of toying with this, like the last event, we have like the whole Mint Gox arena, like the whole dashboard, which I think is just, I haven't seen anybody doing something like that for even just regular virtual events, let alone like gaming stuff. So I think it's, I think it kind of integrates like the desire for a product like, Twitch. Like I tried to do a Twitch stream last week. So, I think it's been just like a really cool little microcosm to experiment with, how to get folks involved and, how to like push these games out virtually.
Yeah, you can iterate on the ideas much quicker and you can see which ideas have traction and which ones are just like duds, and there's not too much of a consequence because I don't know who said it earlier, but the Bitcoin community are very forgiving with bugs, and they're happy for experiments to happen. And so, yeah, it's a good format just to work out what's going to actually work with Bitcoin and games.
Yeah, I mean, when you say happy with bugs, I mean, not at the core protocol layer, though.
I kind of think that when I first started off making games in Bitcoin, it was on the core protocol layer, and there was a lot of kind of the atmosphere wasn't too friendly to kind of experimenting and making games, and kind of famously, Vitalik Buterin kind of made his own chain because a lot of the changes he want the community didn't want in the protocol. But I kind of think with Lightning, we have a bit more flexibility, and especially the point in Lightning is that you can experiment with new features between yourself and another peer without affecting the rest of the Lightning network. So it's really a much more developer-friendly environment.
Yeah, and I think it's like one of those reasons why like we're focusing and trying to promote Lightning in gaming, because it's clearly like the whole like crypto and blockchain like community and industry has latched onto the idea that gaming is the next stage for crypto. But why we think that the Bitcoin and Lightning makes sense is because a lot of the alternatives don't really. I mean, first of all, you need like a currency that works that everyone accepts. So you can't create your own game currency because it doesn't have any value, whereas Bitcoin already has the largest store of global value. And then Lightning, as Chris mentioned, enables you to experiment without any kind of centralized changes needing. You can, first of all, just experiment with bi-directional channels with between yourselves. And then, if you can provide the tools where Bitcoin is just another building block that you add to gaming software rather than trying to recreate the whole of the gaming industry on a blockchain, it just makes sense. And we're seeing that already. I mean, just the once we got these events started, just the kind of inbound after each event of a new game developer who's even new to crypto is hey, I just build this game, can I integrate Lightning? And it's just so easy to do. So you can very quickly see this just spinning up very quickly over the next 12 to 18 months, especially as the price increases.
Yeah, I think kind of to add to that, I think it's once people kind of see it in action. I think before, a lot of game developers don't really make the connection because it is quite a new concept in a way. If you explain to a normal game developer that you have a game which sends a person 10 cents or something, it's kind of hard. They don't understand how that works. The kind of the questions I get when speaking to non-crypto Bitcoin developers who say stuff, well, how can you send Bitcoin in a game? Isn't one Bitcoin $8,000 or something, right? No, that you can send a fraction. Well, how does that work? I heard that it's expensive or slow or something, and then they're the tech savvy game developers, and when you speak to gamers, what do you mean a game can send you money? That gets sent to my PayPal or something. You know what I mean? It's kind of, but once you kind of make a game and showcase it to them, something like Jack's Bitcoin Bounce, they just kind of play this game and they just download a wallet that doesn't require any sign in, and they just got some sats, and I think they really, the light bulb starts to kind of go off, and we start to see game developers wanting to play around with it.
Yeah, I think what you.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
I was just going to move on from that point and say, I think what you said about people not really having an understanding of how it works, or even how Bitcoin is denominated, is a big problem. So I think the first wave of sort of these games, which is why I've done the most simplest game I could, is just to try and onboard people and get people to use the tech and win some Bitcoin, and be and then learn what Satoshi is on their own terms, and just cash out these little small prizes. But we're still kind of, that's the pushing the rock up the hill, is we've got all these cool ideas we want to put in games, but everyone doesn't even know what a Satoshi is. So you can't scale your game until the sort of knowledge is built up.
That's kind of my criticism of more complicated uses of blockchain, which I think are interesting, and I've dabbled in myself, but it's even harder to explain to somebody about having NFTs and things like this. That's just if they can't get the concept of getting a few sats and the idea of installing a special Chrome extension browser and making a wallet and typing your passphrase down, and then you have these NFTs, but you can trade them on a DEX. It gets very complicated very, very quickly, and
yeah, that's one of my people ask me a lot of times, working at Lightning Labs and working with L&D, it's what is your favorite use case? And I mean, one is just my favorite use case for Lightning is money, but then also gaming. And one of the big reasons is, one, I love to play video games, but the other one is just that I think that this is such an interesting way to onboard users. I mean, we at Lightning Labs think so much about adoption, and one way I think that's just so natural is Lightning as an in-game currency. And I think that's just and what something you guys are talking about, I think is just, it's actually reteaching people, or teaching people in a new way about Bitcoin. Instead of the whole almost misnomer that you have to have one Bitcoin in that type of unit. You're not introduced to Bitcoin in that way when you come from the on-ramp of gaming. You learn what a Satoshi is, right? And so I think it's a really interesting way to create a whole new set of users. And yeah, I think that there's an incredible value there. I think I've talked to Konstantin at Donner Lab, and I think also Jack, you had mentioned this, like you have a ton of people playing your games who, you know, haven't, you know, they're not Bitcoiners, and like they don't come from like this hardcore Bitcoin background. So like you're actually really introducing these people, and like you're onboarding people directly to Lightning, kind of bypassing that whole first Bitcoin step, which I think is like really interesting, and I'm like excited to see how this plays out.
I've always sort of followed Bitcoin for gaming, and like over the years, and it wasn't until like Lightning mixed with LNURL when I thought that there's actually a chance to onboard people. I think because in Bitcoin Bounce I don't even have any invoices or QR codes or anything. I think it's just got like a tap of a button and you're cashing out, and that's like the easiest way to onboard someone to Bitcoin is with a one button, download a wallet, and the money's in your wallet. It's like, hey, how can it get any easier than that? So I think like the next wave of adoption is just through Bitcoin and games, but specifically Lightning, because there's so many fewer steps to onboard someone and give them some Bitcoin. The fewer steps, the better, because the fall off in people just giving up is a lot less if you've got less steps for them to trip over. And so that's what I'm doing with Bitcoin Bounce. Is I'm basically coming up with a business model where I get paid if I onboard someone. So my incentive is to onboard as many people to Bitcoin as I can, because then I'll get paid. And I think that's going to be like the first sort of step of games, is literally just onboarding and teaching people. And then after that, it becomes like more complicated games. Maybe the next level of complicated game is just like users selling levels to each other or something, or just purchasing something. Maybe that's the next level. But, you know, with Macaques, we can do a lot of these experiments and see what people, because if people get stuck, you get a lot of people messaging you and emailing you and giving you your DMs blow up if they get stuck. So you find out quite quick what isn't working.
Yeah, I agree about the next wave of onboarding people. I mean, because right now you got to get someone to like sign up to an exchange or something, and it's like that's limited to like the pool of people who are interested in investments and finance, which I think we've probably more or less like reached the capacity of that. Whereas, like, you know, games is like the new like social and also potentially economic paradigm through which most people will have like those like primary experiences. And so once you can have Lightning as a piece of software that's integrated into a game, then like the games become that socioeconomic paradigm of the future. So, and the incentive there is just to take part in something that's like fun and also rewarding, and Bitcoin's what enables you to be rewarded. You don't even necessarily need to know it's Bitcoin. Like, you know that you're getting these things that you can take out of the game and spend elsewhere and put into another game. So I definitely agree that gaming is the next onboarding ramp to scale adoption.
I think we kind of see that in like popular culture like now. That I think there's a few kind of TV programs that I've seen and shows, and there's kind of been this character who is a kid who's earned a lot of money through gaming. You know, I think it was recently one was Ozark. They had that in, and then you actually hear it in real life. You know, about these you know, like these teenagers who are, you know, not doing their homework and playing Fortnite, but earning a lot of money. So I kind of it does sound like that going forward, the younger generation is kind of looking to gaming as, you know, a viable income in a way. So I think
especially merged with the Twitch. So especially merged with Twitch and the live streaming things that you guys are working on.
Yeah, it's like a giant, you know, the gaming economy is, you know, famously it's bigger than movies and music or something like that, right? And it shows no sign of slowing down, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting. There's like these kids nowadays, like the way that they interact, like their social lives are like completely like intertwined in these games, and like, you know, that's the future. That's the new social network, is through gaming. And so like having some type of, like having a currency also integrated there, it's just like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not much of a Fortnite player, but like I certainly hang around in Minecraft and play with my, like, you know, younger relatives, and other kind of VR gaming is just like completely changed that as well. I mean, combining VR and gaming and cryptocurrency, you just got like it's mind blowing. But I agree with just like gaming is already bigger than filming and music, and it's growing rapidly, and this is just the beginning. Once you have, I truly believe that once you have a currency that's unlocked from the fiat system that is just another building block that game developers can integrate, then the next 10 years are just going to be mind blowing for us.
The next 4 years, because until the next Halving, right?
Yeah.
That's what we've got to focus on, the next epoch.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking about what's next, like, I mean, we should talk about kind of what, what's in store for the future of Macaques. I mean, like, the sky's the limit, but like, I know, like, Christian, you're working on some like super cool VR stuff, which like I didn't even think was possible. So I don't know if you guys want to touch on what we're thinking about doing next.
Yeah,
we were no, I was gonna say, I mean, we have like monthly events that are already lining up, and we have new like major games in each one. But yeah, I think the VR component is something that is quite small at the moment. Like, most people don't need it, but yeah, Chris has got some cool ideas, I think, on how we can like make more customized VR games. So at the moment, most people just watch the stream, and like we're in VR, so you can interact with us, and that's where we host from. But Chris has got an idea to like have some fun games and events in the VR so that people can also hang out in there. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. Continue.
No, that's all right. Yeah. So we kind of do the events on Altspace VR. I think the only other VR platform for hangouts in town is VR Chat, and they're both quite similar. In a way, they're quite limited how much you can customize it, but one thing they do let you do is to design custom levels, like you would in something like Minecraft. So a few things we've got planned is to kind of have like a lot of like Bitcoin art and kind of Bitcoin animated art. So we could have like blocks moving and kind of things that represent, Bitcoin and the network. We could have like statues of Bitcoin sculptures. There's this famous kind of art like crypto graffiti. We could have that on the walls. So that's kind of the basic things that we could do. But at Zebedee, we're also looking at a kind of VR Lightning SDK, which would let people. One of the problems with Lightning and Bitcoin at the moment is it's all kind of designed around scanning QR codes, which I think for gaming itself isn't great, but it's something you particularly can't do in VR because you can't scan things because you don't have your phone with you. Anyway, so we're looking at kind of an SDK that will let game developers kind of link to their wallet from VR. It'd be kind of quite simple. They'd have to like enter like a short code that they can easily kind of enter in VR, but that would link to the Lightning wallet and then allow them to send and receive sats from other users. Kind of what I want to kind of do just for fun is to have some sort of, a user would kind of like zap lightning bolts from his hand, and he could like, that would be sending Satoshi, something like that. We could do like lots of fun stuff, like I don't know, like Dragon Ball Z or something. You could literally Kamehameha like Satoshis and fight somebody. Anyway, but that's definitely something we want to play around with, just to kind of make because at the moment, I think the VR is fun, but you don't get that much more out of it than you would have just by watching the stream. But there's a lot that we could do with VR. So we kind of want to unlock that potential.
Yeah, I think it's impressive how many people have now like acquired VR headsets. Like, I never thought that I would have a VR headset, but now I like use it every single day. So, I mean, who knows? Like, that could be the future of meetings and everything.
It's my escapism.
I actually have a fight with my wife now. We both fight over who is using the VR, because I want it for the meetups, and then she wants it to do Beat Saber. So it's like we have to get another one now.
We need like Lightning Beat Saber.
Yeah, well, there is, I don't want to say too much, but there are kind of people who are experimenting with that we know of. So, but I guess like that goes back to the issue. It's quite hard to integrate Lightning into VR at the moment because you can't scan QR codes. But hopefully we'll see kind of more kind of games that use VR and Lightning once we kind of solve that issue.
Yeah, it should be seamless, just like sats flying around without having to like even mess around with QR codes. That's gonna be awesome. Like
Yeah.
lightning is just like some like energy that flows in and out of you. So it's like power things.
The metaverse, right?
Yeah.
You can make it rain sats and like pick them up in VR or something. I don't know, like literally have it fall down. And, anyway, just loads of stuff, you know.
I love that. Awesome. Well, I mean, I guess we have like we have 2 more minutes till we have to wrap up. Did you guys want to touch on anything else before we sign
No,
off
should we
and let
just say that
BCCK take over?
the third event is going to be June the June the 7th? June the 6th.
Yeah, June the 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern.
That's a Sunday, and there's going to be a number of games that we already have, and then Bitcoin Bounty Hunter is going to be the main one. So there should be like a 30-player online demo where you can run around and shoot each other sets. So that is going to be awesome either to watch or play.
We should also have like a kind of stylized Bitcoin VR world as well for the VR people.
Yeah, so
awesome.
Yeah,
and we're doing Bitcoin Bounce. And we're doing Bitcoin Bounce, Sat Stacker, and Saratobi Advanced Play again, right, guys?
Yeah, we've got like a sort of virtual arcade happening now where there's like every month there's like a new game being added. So you can just step inside and have a look around and find a game you like and give it a play for a bit, win some sats.
Awesome. Well, cool. I think that is all the time we have. Definitely everyone follow us on Twitter at Macaques. Join our Discord for kind of on the minute information updates. Also, if you're interested in sponsoring one of our events, we do need Satoshis to give out in the game. So it's a very small amount, but DM us on Twitter if you're interested in that. And also, just play more Lightning games. Thanks, guys.